That was fascinating. And this again goes back to what I said earlier about as much as you possibly can, uh, always show up, even in the midst of my mourning the loss of the camaraderie and the creativity of Breakfast Time in its Fox version. I was still doing the best I could. I really was. I was just trying to, just for that 1 hour, shake it off and do the best show I possibly could. And apparently that was good enough to catch the attention of ABC News. Now I'm in an apartment with a puppet, and ABC News says, "That's our guy," for Good Morning America. At this particular junction in time, it was around '97, I guess. And Joan London was leaving. Charles Gibson was going to be leaving. So they were looking to envision the show. What Rune Arledge liked about what he saw when he watched me was that I worked well live. I could work well in an ad lib capacity. What he probably didn't know, but I think they were heartened to find out later, was that I was also very comfortable in newsier interviews, certainly on People Are Talking in Boston. I had done my share of very serious issue-oriented hours and have no problem shifting gears like that. But it was an odd vehicle, Fox After Breakfast, to bring me to the attention of ABC News. So my agent, who is still my agent, has been with me, Babette Perry, through all these strange zigs and zags, said, "Rune Arledge wants to have lunch with you." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "He wants to talk to you about Good Morning America." And I said, "I want some of what you're smoking." But he did. Who wouldn't want to have lunch with Rune Arledge? I mean, he's an icon. So I had this lunch, and he was very complimentary and said, "We'd like to have you come in and do a test week." And at that point, I still held up hope. We were coming up to February sweeps. I said, Fox has promised they'd promote the show. I want to give it one last. And they didn't promote the show, and I basically cashed in the vacation time and then did a test week on Good Morning America with Elizabeth Vargas, who was filling in for Joan London. And Elizabeth and I just clicked. And she was wonderfully gracious, inviting me and helping me learn the ropes of the morning show. Live TV I had no problem with. The idea of doing a silly conversation or cooking segment butted against a news interview, I had no problem with. So it was all kind of in my wheelhouse. The only people, I mean, I knew I could do it, but there was head scratching going on in other circles. And interestingly, that week, Lori was on the show. She was a contributor to Good Morning America, so we had a bit of a reunion on the show. And that week went very well. And I got I was very proud of this, a cheer in TV Guide for that week. And as a result of that, not of the cheer, but of what I did on the show, ABC signed me to a contract to be Charlie's successor when he left the show. And the unfortunate part was that Elizabeth Vargas wasn't going to be my co-host. It was someone else had already been hired for it, Lisa McCree, who was an anchor out here in L.A. And so the contract that I had was I would fill in for Charlie whenever he took a week off, and by I think it was June of '98, they had to announce that I was the new guy. And in the interim, people would get to know me by me filling in, and it would, theoretically, based on that test week, would be a foregone conclusion. But Elizabeth and I had great chemistry, and morning television is always, first and foremost, about chemistry. I mean, as we sit here today in January of 2013 taping this, we're looking at a shift in morning television right now where Good Morning America, I'm happy to say, being an ABC guy, is number one, and the Today Show is not. And one could say the key element in that is chemistry. the issues that they've had on the Today Show have contributed to people finding GMA as a much more comfortable place to start their day. So Elizabeth not being part of the equation and Lisa being the new, and she was hired to replace Joan London, so she had the gig. And we just didn't click. We just didn't, it was like oil and water. It just didn't work. If you were standing close enough to the TV, I used to say, you could actually feel the wind chill coming off your set. It was like, oh, my nipples popped. I wonder why. Oh, it's because they don't have any chemistry. So it was like that. And Kevin McCree, I think it was Kevin. I'm blanking a little bit on it, but he was no, Lisa McCree and Kevin. What was Kevin's last name? Do you have that in your research? He was the newsman. He's from Canada, and I'll kick myself for not because he great guy, and he was there when Princess Diana died. He filled in that day, or he was just there that day, and Charlie was sick or something. And because he had worked in Canadian television, he knew the intricacies of the British government and all that, and did a masterful job of, you're Googling that for me? Thank you. Or you're looking in my own book, which I wrote 4 years ago. I have no idea. But he did a great job. And Lisa almost had sex with him that day. I mean, I think she was proving, I don't want to be with Tom. I want to be this guy. So Rune Arledge came to me and said, we'd like to have Kevin fill in too, which is against the terms of your contract. How do you feel about that? And I said, well, I knew that if they didn't announce me at the end of the contract term, they'd have to cut me a very big check. So I went, yeah, it's okay. Because I knew it wasn't going to work with me and Lisa, and I was looking at that check. And they said, we could let you out of the contract. Oh, no. No. So what? Just yell it to me. What's it?
Kevin Newman.
Kevin Newman, of course. Hello, Newman. Thank you very much. Sorry, Kevin, if you're watching. We need to stay in touch, man, because I'm like hiding my own Easter eggs at this point. So I said, sure, fine. And I remember Kevin and I in Charlie's dressing room having a conversation at one point when I was filling in, and I said, whoever gets it is screwed because it's just not there. It's just not happening. And so Kevin got the job. They cut me a check, which I used to buy a house in New Hampshire that we have to this day, and I have a little plaque. I have a little plaque in my office there. I call the house McCree Manor, established 1999, and the phrase is from cold shoulder to warm hearth. And Kevin and Lisa were fired within 8 months. And GMA's doing pretty well now.
Why is there so much drama in morning talk shows?
Well, because it's not just morning talk shows. I think it's and you can find it in any profession. And it's about the difference between, and it's where I screwed up on Fox After Breakfast. When you stop playing a team sport, when you start thinking it's all about you, that's a path to disaster. It really is. None of us do this by ourselves. The only way I could do this by myself is to stand out here in my lawn and continue this conversation and be carted away to the funny farm. It's a team sport. All the best experiences I've had in my career have been working with really talented people. And the failures I've had, and happily they're in the minority, were when, for whatever reason, I got it in my head that I'm doing great, or my ego was the motivating factor. And I think to that degree, there were a lot of egos in play in that time. I think as somebody observing from the outside, one could surmise there are egos at play in the Today Show's current woes. The moment that becomes the currency, it's you're bankrupt, to continue that metaphor. So that's why I think it's one of the reasons Dancing with the Stars works so well is because we genuinely have affection for each other. So that when I give Len Goodman a hard time, we'll go out to dinner later that day, and we'll have a great time. There's love there. There's affection there.